I'm under the faint impression that I am late to the Spellbook party. But no matter. I don't have a very big spellbook. So I'll pick 5 cards I like and explain why I like them. Seems easy enough. The very first card in my spellbook would be Mephidros Vampire. Basically, I have a lot of reasons for this. One of my favorite tabletop RPGs to play is Vampire the Requiem, something in the Chronicles of Darkness series, which is in of itself part of the storytelling system. I like Vampire because I only require the usage of D10s and being able to tell a decent story. Illustration-wise, Mephidros Vampire has some nice talons. I like to draw myself with claws and talons from time to time, and have done so since I was little. I personally resonate with undead creatures in both tabletop and video games. Mephidros Vampire is among them. Mephidros Vampire also partially looks like a StarCraft unit, more specifically a Protoss Dark Templar. Mirrodin was the first plane I, air quotes, planeswalked to by proxy of the Scars of Mirrodin block. I later discovered that there was an original recipe Mirrodin block, which I first heard about via looking up rules on block format. Mephidros Vampire was among these cards, and my favorite non-Darksteel card therein. Mephidros Vampire allows vampires to be one of my favorite creature tribal themes, if not my favorite, for the reason of allowing me to be a lot more creative with deck building compared to other creature tribals. I can include every creature type category of some kind, but once I summon Mephidros Vampire, they're all part of my vampire army. Mephidros Vampire's abilities allow me to play defensively, specifically making everybody gain +1/+1 counters from dealing damage to creatures, since they all qualify as vampires. I like blocking with creatures more so than attacking. I also like just gaining +1/+1 counters through a variety of differing means, so I'm not always having to tap my creatures to attack. Maybe I should find ways to give my creatures vigilance. That would optimize their versatility a peg. And since I prefer to block with creatures, Mephidros Vampire itself could be tougher, but he suits me fine. He has a lot more value than most other cards. Ooh, Sauron Markov's the next spell. Wait, isn't there a separate category for planeswalkers in these spellbook memes? It doesn't matter. I only have about 5 cards I genuinely relate to, and this is one of them. I think I might have a type. Wait, no. White-haired anti-heroes is something that only is really indicative if I cherry-pick from 2 different places. Magic the Gathering has Sauron Markov, League of Legends has Riven. Nope. Never mind. Anyway, I have a sensitivity to heat that makes wearing jackets a firm liability for me, except in the most extreme of cold climates. But I have a similar attire to Sauron Markov's anyway. I don't have a ruby-embedded corresponding shirt or vest for that outfit, though. My PlayStation t-shirt is probably not an adequate substitute if we're going by anything. Original Recipe Sauron Markov was one of the first cards to teach me how to properly fix my mana in my deck, so I can reliably cast the spells I employ in my adventures throughout. As a black mana planeswalker, I found myself wondering what kind of good guy characters my main color possessed. I had a Forthos friend who I've introduced before. He mained an Emrakul ramp deck when Scars of Mirrodin and Zendikar were both standard, who quickly summarized the plot of the novel set in the original Zendikar block. I was informed not only of Sauron Markov's existence, but of other black mana protagonists and heroes, notably Toshiro Umezawa in the Kamigawa block. I like life gain as a theme, and almost all of the Sauron planeswalkers relate to it in a fashion that I can easily integrate. However, I recognize my need to competitively synergize dealing damage to opponents and gaining life together in order to pull off wombo combos. even Soren's first minus ability, while primarily good in commander format because I start out with 40 life versus 20, is something that I've learned to wombo combo with. My favorite to do this with is Urza's Rage. I have to kick Urza's Rage to get the best part of the effect, but uncounterable and unpreventable 10 damage after making someone's life total 10 is a technique I aspire to pull off. Okay, so the third spell in my retinue is, land? I'm pretty sure lands don't count as spells. Ugh, what was I thinking? Oh well, at least it's Maze's End, and the architecture of the card is very nice. I'm reminded of a time where I tried to dabble in architectural design through one of my classes freshman year of high school. I had fun in it, but wound up not being encouraged to do architecture beyond the selective. My mediocrity in mathematics-based courses put the nail in the coffin later on in my high school years. On top of that, the buildings in the background of Maze's End reminded me of a university I was dead set on going to until I was told by my peers I was too autistic to go to it. Too autistic had been the exact words my parents said, and what was directly implied by a majority of my classmates anyway. The head honchos at this university liked me enough, in spite of me not getting higher than a 24 on my ACTs. Really, I feel bad about that. I wanted a 37 so bad. I had partial clout from the International Baccalaureate program, anyway, and the overall campus may have been huge, but a lot of the people there were friendly enough that I would have survived a hell of a lot better there than in other places I had considered at the time. I swore an oath to go to that university for grad school after having made the Faustian bargain to go somewhere else that wound up being massively inferior in every conceivable academic way, even though this university I instead went to talked the university I liked down in an extremely elitist fashion. After being academically suspended from this inferior university, I tried my hand at a community college that wound up being about as bad as everyone in my high school made it out to be. In spite of at least one cool person being met there, I had nothing going for me in regards to classes or reasons to continue attending that community college after one semester. I unwillingly moved to another state to try their colleges out so I could continue repairing my GPA because the inferior university that I previously was suspended from rejected my reinstatement appeal. Damn them to hell. I never quite recovered enough to be impressive to the big university I actually liked again, so I had to transfer to a completely different university for my bachelor's degree. As far as reasons that actually relate to magic, Maze's End is the coolest looking land card I have ever laid my eyes on. As of this vlog entry, at least. I'm not entirely sure this opinion of mine will change for a few years more at minimum. Also, in spite of Maze's End being in the Return to Ravnica block, I don't like Ravnica as a plane well enough to make other deck ideas for it. That said, I give the Ravnica plane props for introducing me to this card and others that I like a whole lot, even if the reasons for a majority of these favorites are almost purely aesthetic. Maze's End is one of the more unique win condition cards. It encourages land acceleration and land tutoring as a way to win. I like Maze's End as much as I like infected poison counters as a means of winning the game. Why not build a deck commander around it, I ask myself. Maze's End also encourages using all 5 colors to build a deck around it. Pretty much because all of the gate cards can net mana from one of 2 possible colors, and each of the gates is different. There's also multicolored lands that Maze's End encourages the use of, and while they come from other planes and other sets entirely, this is okay for me. I still need to find a commander for the Maze's End themed deck, though. What one do I like out of the Wooburg ones, though? That's a toughie. Alright, so what's the next one? Oh, Blightsteel Colossus. It's an artifact. Do artifacts count as spells? Doesn't matter, it's a creature anyway. This card's illustration and mechanics, mana cost, power, and toughness, they all scream boss monster. which is a Yu-Gi-Oh term for a powerful monster with big, beefy stats that is more often than not difficult to deal with. I credit rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh for my knowing what this term actually means, by the way. Yeah, it's a non-Voltron card that qualifies as a boss monster. On top of that, it has two of my favorite keywords. My favorite keyword is Infect, and my favorite win condition involves poison counters. I think I already talked about this. Indestructible is my second favorite keyword in Magic the Gathering. And since it's an artifact, I can make copies of it with Prototype Portal and other support cards for added personal amusement. I did consider making a deck focused entirely around Blightsteel Colossus, but for now I will just settle for having it as a good number 2 for my Zergo Helm Smasher Voltron shenanigans. And last but not least is Phylactery Lich. Its art reminded me of the Lich hero in Warcraft 3, even with the Frozen Throne expansion adding a lot more heroes to Warcraft 3. The Lich was always my favorite hero, which in turn made my favorite playable faction, the Undead. Phylactery Lich's art also reminded me of the Horned King, my favorite Disney villain, from The Black Cauldron, my favorite Disney movie. Phylactery Lich rocks some sick shoulder pads, too. I like drawing shoulder pads, mostly because they've helped me improve in drawing people anatomically correctly. Outside of art, my eyes glow red the same way Phylactery Lich's eyes glow purple. I don't have a Phylactery to call my own, though. As far as reasons that actually relate to Magic, I pretty much just like that Phylactery Lich is the card that makes the most effort in positively interacting with artifacts, to a point where I almost made a 60-card deck centered around Phylactery Lich and the Darksteel line of artifacts. I have instead chosen to employ Phylactery Lich in a commander deck I'm brewing. Not sure which one. Zombies are a favorite creature type in general. Much like vampires, it has pretty much mostly to do with the fact that these creatures are a form of undead. Unlike vampires, however, zombies don't have as much versatility in regards to deck brewing. I first recognized Phylactery Lich's power when a person in my first playgroup summoned him and proceeded to hand me my ass, using it as his MVP. I then also used this card, and decisively won one of my first multiplayer games ever with Phylactery Lich as my decisive attacker. It was equipped with World Slayer. And the rest is history. I believe that most other Jace's Spellbook memes... Oh, dear God, why is it called Jace's Spellbook? I don't even like Jace. And I don't relate to him at all. Not even one bit. I tried reading Ixalan. It doesn't work. He's still a God-Modi person with Cool Trainer Brett syndrome. I'll talk about that later, probably. Alright, anyway, yeah. I just don't have 8 cards that I personally relate to. I had 5. That was a good number. That's really all there is to say on this topic. I should probably move on and go back to playing Crash Nitro Kart. Definitely a lot less likely to stammer.